welcome again to another episode of Lunch and Learn with Andy at the Rad Air facility. Of course, the compressor just kicks on now while we're here at the location. We call this the Merriman Valley location. It's actually north Akron by the zip code. And we're down in the valley here in Merriman Valley where the train and the river and everything runs through here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about what you find underneath the hood. So if you're a brand new driver and you're just the first time driving, things you kind of want to look at to make sure you stay safe on the road when you do this. Now, the first thing you're going to have to do is open the hood. All hoods on the vehicles have a secondary latch or a safety latch on the vehicle. In this case, I'll show you right here. Once you pull the lever inside to release the hood, you notice it won't open. That's so that you accidentally can't pull that going down the road and the hood would fly open and cover the windshield and you couldn't see. So there's always a secondary latch someplace in the front of the vehicle. In this case, this is it right here. So you pull that and then the hood will raise. Then if the hood doesn't stay up by itself, you're going to have some kind of hood prop rod. In this case, this rod goes right here, and that's what goes and holds the hood open for while you're working on it. So when you start looking around here, you're going to start seeing some different colored items here. Put a couple fender covers on here. So, one of the first things you want to look at on your car is your battery. You look under the hood here, this is the battery. In most cases, you can see the battery almost all the time. And this one happens to be right out front. There's a little post cover here. Now, if you notice, this battery is nice and clean. The terminals are clean, and there's no corrosion. A lot of times you'll find is you're going to find a green substance, or it looks like a white powdery substance around it. That's where that's corroding on that battery. And if enough corrosion gets between the terminals, you're going to have a situation where the car is either not going to start, not going to charge, or the battery won't get fully charged, and you would have to be stranded wherever you're at because it won't crank over. So in this case, that one looks pretty darn good in there for you. So another thing you're going to see, if you look at this orange cap here, this is for the engine oil. This is how we check it. Right here. So you normally just pull this out. What you always do is you wipe it off the first time to make sure it's nice and clean and you get all the oil residue off. As what happens as the engine runs, oils can sometimes come down this channel and it'll give you a false reading. So you clean it off, you put it back inside, then we pull it out, take a look at it, and as you can see on this one here, the oil level right there is right about there. So in this case, if you can see real closely, that is the full mark right at the top of those X's. So in this case, the oil is number one, nice and clean. And you can tell again, if we redo it a second time, the oil itself is just spotless clean on it. And that's because we just changed it. So this oil is just been done. So many of you are going to wonder, what oil do I put in it and how often do I do that? Recommended to at least check your oil level at least every 1,000 miles. Some will say more, some will say less. You can never go wrong checking at 1,000 miles. So then the second question comes up to what oil do I put in my car? Almost all vehicles is going to have on the oil fill cap exactly what is supposed to go in the vehicle. It's not on the cap, it's going to be somewhere underneath there. Worst case scenario, look in your owner's manual, it's going to tell you there. So in this case, this is the SAE 0W20. This oil was engineered here probably about 12, 15 years ago to help increase fuel economy. The lighter and thinner the oil is, the less parasitic draw it has in the engine, so the engine gets to turn more freely, and then you get better fuel economy because it's not dragging the engine down with heavy oil. Now, the sad part about that is, if your system is contaminated and ever so slightly with sludge or dirt or not changing oil often, the little passages that carry this oil will start to plug up. They're really tiny passages. They're very close tolerances in here. So if you don't change your oil often enough, we start seeing problems like variable valve timing not acting correctly. You see sludge in the engine. You'll start throwing codes for valve timing, cam timing, and things going on in the engine. So this one here, it's you'll see it says for gasoline engines only, SAE 0W20, and actually there's C owner's manual for other specifications. So when you look at oil, we're going to put this back on here. Thank God that compressor.
No kidding.
Shut up. That is one noise compressor. Okay, let's look at engine oil. So this oil here is a SAE 5W20. Okay, and this is a high mileage version of it. This is an SAE 5W30. Here's an SAE 10W40. So these are all high mileage. These are all different brands of oil. So I'm not going to tell you what brand of oil to use. What I would tell you is use a good quality brand. Always use the same oil if you can. If you're always using, in this case, castor oil, I would try to use the castor oil all the time. Use the same brand, the same weight all the time. In this case, as you can see, all of those, not one of those oils is the proper oil for this vehicle. So we just brought those out as a sample to show you. We did put the proper oil in this vehicle. Matter of fact, if you don't put the proper oil in the vehicle, you could start setting codes in the engine. Your check engine light may come on for different reasons, mainly valve timing issues. Let me explain that real quick. All the newer engines have what we call variable valve timing to help you get the best power, best fuel economy on your vehicle. If the oil's too thick, the timing mechanisms will not work properly because they're looking for X amount of oil at this pressure. If it's not there, it's not going to do its job. So at that point in time, you will set that. So putting the proper oil in your vehicle is important. So then we're going to look around here a little bit more. This one right here, blue cap, that's for your window washer fluid. And this also has its own dipstick on there. It's awful hard to see what's in there, but we would literally just take and look down there. In this case, this one still needs to be filled up on it and go from there. Now, there's other fluids on vehicles too, such as power steering fluid. In this case here, looking around, we need to, okay, well, here's the first obvious one that we got here. Okay, this one here is for brake fluid. All right, as you can see, the brake fluid is right up to the top there. In this particular one, we would be looking at that brake fluid to see if it's cloudy, discolored, or anything like that. If it's nice and clean and pretty much clear like that, that means that we're going to have any problem. In this case, this one here tells us we need to have, it's kind of hard to see here, but this one here shows clearly that this uses .4 brake fluid. Okay, back to just like oils, we need to make sure we get the proper brake fluid. So, if we look at these real quick, this one is a full synthetic .3. Here's a full synthetic .4, and here's a full synthetic .5. So again, you cannot mix these up. If you need to put brake fluid in your vehicle, you want to make sure you get the right dot rating on the fluid. However, I want to bring up a point with that. If your brake fluid is low, only two things should be going on there. As the brake fluid, as your brake pads and shoes wear down, the pistons and the cylinders have to stick out further to make your brakes work. That takes more fluid, so your brake level fluid will start dropping a little bit. So if your brake fluid is low, have your brakes inspected to make sure you're not worn out. Number two, if your brake fluid is really low, then you also want to inspect to make sure we don't have a leak. It's a sealed system, so if you need to add brake fluid, one of two things is happening. You either have a leak or you got worn out brakes. Now that's if it's too low. If it's just a little bit low, you'll see on the over here, you get a picture, Bill. There's an indicator marks that show where you are, and you can tell that is absolutely full there. We're down a little bit. So looking at this here, I would guess the brakes are maybe 50% worn on your car based on the fluid level, and assuming there is no other leaks on it.
Now, Andy, does that fluid ever get changed?
It's highly recommended to change the fluid. The fluid is what we call hygroscopic. The fluid loves to absorb moisture. As you know, in the Cleveland market here, we're a very humid area. We have lots of moisture in the air. There's high humidity in the summer, rain in the fall and spring, of course snow and ice and sleet in the winter. So we are humid. That fluid, anytime it's exposed to moisture, loves to grab moisture. And it will literally grab the moisture out of the air through the rubber components and the seals and the gaskets. So it's highly recommended around every 50,000, outside maybe 100,000 miles to change the fluid, just so you don't cause any problems. And the problem you would see is as the brake fluid gets moisture in it, it actually creates a mild acid in the system. That acid will start rotting the pistons and the seal areas in the calipers in the brake system. Then you get the leak that we were talking about. So flush it out every once in a while, and you'll be in great shape.
I don't think we could have picked a noisier day to do this video.
I know.
Tow trucks, that's a good sign.
Yeah, it's a very busy shop here. So we got all kind of noises going on here. So I was looking around, Bill. I don't see a power steering fluid readily available here.
I think this must have electronic steering.
Yeah, so that's another thing that's I was just going to mention. So another item you could have under here that would normally be on the front of the engine somewhere would be a power steering pump. And it does exactly what the name implies. Power steering pump gives pressure to the power steering system so you can turn the wheel easier. This particular car has an electric power steering, so there is no pump. But on the same token, you would have power steering fluids the same way you would have other fluids. There are different specifications for it on it. So this is a high mileage power steering fluid, and then this is a regular one. And this one is made especially for Hondas. So again, you got to refer to your owner's manual, whatever the cap says you're going to match on it. Now here's one I don't like, and I'll explain that in a minute. This power steering fluid actually has a little sign here that says what stop leak in it. So basically what they're assuming in here, they're putting a component in here that will try and attempt to swell the seals in the system to make them stop any leak that may be there. So if you understand what I'm saying, you have a leak. You're trying to patch it with an additive that swells the rubber seal in the system. That's only going to work for a little bit of time, and then it's going to go away. The problem with that is there's all kind of seals in a racket pinion unit, in the power steering pump. The hoses are a lot of times made out of rubber and that. So you use this additive one time, it swells everything. Then you go, you replace the part that is actually leaking, let's say it's the racket pinion unit, and you still have this in the system. So now we have to flush this out, which is an added expense to you as the client, get rid of it, but the damage is already done. The power steering pump seals, the hoses already had this additive in it, they're going to start to swell. They're going to cause a premature failure eventually down the line. So this is one of those circumstances that there's no easy fix. Just adding a chemical to the system is not going to let you bypass fixing it correctly. In fact, what it may do is make you repair more than you ever need to do. You just fixed it right the first time. So that's about the power steering.
You want to say hi to Quentin here?
Hey, Q, while you're here, come on over. So this is Quentin. He's our general manager of the facility down here at Merriman Valley. Quentin is a general manager. He's out in the shop here all the time with us. He's here all the time. And we have Rick up front. We'll introduce you in a couple of minutes. But Quentin and Rick are the two that will take care of you. If you look at our Google reviews down here, everybody loves Quentin. I call him Q, because Quentin's just too hard to say all the time. But Q is on top of it. Probably one of the best natural diagnostic people I know. He figures things out that nobody else can, and he does it quickly. So if you have that really odd problem with your vehicle, no other shop can fix it, that's the kind of guy you want to look at. Unfortunately, we have these kind of guys, two of these kind of guys at each one of our shops. So again, Quentin, you want to tell me your hours when you're here?
We're here Monday through Friday from 7:30 in the morning till 6 at night, and on Saturdays we're here from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Sundays are closed.
Yeah, and as you can tell, it's a very busy shop by all the noise that's going on there today. We had every noise going that we could possibly get. Except, that truck towing in. I can't believe how noisy that tow truck was.
That one got towed in with the tire that came off going down the road.
Oh.
That customer had a very pleasant experience.
Yeah. Well, and we didn't do that.
No,
But
we did not.
we will fix it. You want to know that Rick can bring it up here?
You know what, that'll give us a, let's check the, we're going to check the Facebook here. See if there's any questions.
Just started raining on us here too, by the way. So a little bit there.
Nope, no questions right now.
Okay, very good.
So we'll get back to it. And we got about 9 minutes left.
Okay. We're going to talk about transmission fluid a little bit. This vehicle has a transmission that you cannot check, we cannot check without doing a little bit of work. This particular vehicle, you have to pull a plug on the side of the transmission to get in and check the level of it. The theory is it's a sealed system. It should never have to be filled up unless there's a leak in it. So if you have a leak, you need to fix the leak and then refill it. But we always like to monitor the fluid to see how it's doing. So we would, in this case, pull the plug out, test the fluid, and see what it's like. It's generally recommended, again, look at your owner's manual, that you change the fluid on these vehicles between 50 and 100,000 miles. Each vehicle varies. But if you were to put transmission fluid in it, it's the same thing. This is many different kinds of ATF fluid. So we got this one here, which is an ATF fluid for automatic transmissions, full synthetic, and you can see it basically is recommended by a lot of different vehicles. Then we have what we call the Dextron fluid. This was pretty much designed for General Motors vehicles, and it has all these different fluids that it replaces on here. We started with Dextron, then Dextron 2, then Dextron 3, Dextron 4, and so on. So they formulate these all the time. But if you have a GM vehicle, you're probably going to be putting Dextron in it. Some Ford vehicles use it too. Many other vehicles use it, but again, you have to specify that. And then we have a Mercon fluid, which is Ford's version. So Ford has their own Mercon version, and this is an LV. And there are so many different fluids. If you've been keeping up with the industry, we have 3-speed transmissions, we have 4-speed transmissions, we have 5, 6, I think 1, 7, 1, 8, and 10. I don't think there's a 9-speed yet that I've heard of. But literally, these transmissions all have different specifications for the materials that's in them, which formulates which kind of fluid needs to go in it. So if you need to top off your transmission fluid, when you pull the dipstick out, it should say what fluid is on it. So as you read it, kind of like this dipstick here, if you pull it out, it'll usually tell you on it what kind of fluid to use, in this case part number. On the transmission fluid, it always tells you that. But again, look at your owner's manual. However, as I stated, if you need transmission fluid, you probably have a leak someplace on it. It's not supposed to go anywhere. And I would say that one other fluid we can't check under here is your air conditioning. Gas, basically. Could be called a fluid in some cases. But it's the same thing with your air conditioner. Air conditioner's not working and somebody tells you it just needs recharge, that's really a fallacy. If you need to add refrigerant into your car, that means the refrigerant you had leaked out. And the simplest thing I could tell you on that is think about your refrigerator in your house. You never have somebody come in and recharge your refrigerator every couple of years because your refrigerator is just not cold. So if your air conditioner in your vehicle is not cold enough, there's many things it could be. However, if it's low on refrigerant, you have a leak, and we just have to find that leak. And nobody's better at that than us. I'll toot our horn on this. We started as a radiator and air conditioning shop 45 years ago, so that's still our mainstay on it. Let's touch real quick on the other fluid we did not, and that's the washer fluid. And not a lot to be said about washer fluid. However, you got to be cautious of the different types real quick. And in this particular case, the freeze point. If you notice, this one's good for 20 below zero. This one's 25 below zero, and again 25. This is a 2-in-1 that helps remove snow and ice on it. There's just many different kinds. Generally, if you look at the blue fluid, it may be a summer fluid, and it's only good for the freezing at 32 degrees. So if you have summer fluid in there, it's going to freeze up and not work through your washers in the wintertime. So you need to make sure, especially in the fall in our climate, you're putting in a washer fluid that is rated at least below 0 at some point, because as you know, we sometimes get below 0 around here. And then some of these with the Rain-X in it, it helps clean your windshield off, and it helps to keep the snow and the ice from sticking to it a little bit. I'm a real big firm believer in Rain-X. I use it on all my vehicles. It's a great product. You'll actually see the water sheeting right off of the windshield on it for you there. So that's it. Rick, you want to pop in here real quick? I'm going to introduce our other counterpart here at Merriman Valley location.
Hello.
This is Rick. He's our service manager. You can tell he's always at the front counter, so he's got his face mask and everything anytime he talks to anybody. So I guess we probably should be doing better social distancing right now. Yeah.
He's always smiling too.
Yeah. And again, if you look at our Facebook or our Google reviews, everybody loves Rick. He's one of the most compassionate and honest service writers in the industry. We're proud to have him as part of our team here. Rick, how long have you been with us now?
I've been with you guys for, let's say, counted 5 years.
5 years now. That's
Yes.
what I thought. I knew it was close to 5 years. So, need anything? I want to give you your phone number real quick to reach you down here.
Our phone number is 330-926-9820. And we're here from 7:30 to 6 during the week. And we're also here on Saturdays from 8 to 2.
So, very good. Thank you, Rick. So, my guess is we're almost out of time, right, Bill?
Yep. How about we do two last things? Engine coolant, and it looks like the air filters popped off too.
Yeah. Okay. Real quick one. Here's where the engine coolant would go. And again, there's going to be a specification on it. And if you need to fill it, that means you have a leak. So keep an eye on that.
So real quickly on this, is there just one type of antifreeze coolant?
No, like everything else, last count, I think we have 11. So there are 11 different kind of antifreeze. Changes all the time. Make sure you get the right stuff. But the bottom line, if you need any of these fluids, other than washer fluid, you're using it in a way it's not supposed to be. You know, if your engine's burning oil, it's going to go down. If your transmission's leaking, power steering's leaking, any of those, the brake fluid's leaking, you got a problem. And then here's where the air cleaner goes. Another thing you would check in here. A little difficult to get in and out, but that would be with the air cleaner. And as you can see, this one is spotless because we just put it in. We just finished servicing this vehicle, and so we're going to do that. So thank you for listening and watching. If you'd like, email us, text us, or contact us through Facebook. We're going to do this every week, and we're open to any suggestions you want to hear about. We'll be happy to talk about for you. So be safe, be careful, and thanks for watching.